एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज कहना चाहता हूं। आज धर्मेंद्र प्रधान का इस्तीफा हुआ है, इसके लिए मुझे हीरो मत बनाना, ये गलती मत करना, ये गलती मत करना। मुझे धर्मेंद्र प्रधान के इस्तीफे की वजह से हीरो मत बनाना। एक इंसान को हीरो बनाने की वजह से ही देश का कबाड़ा हुआ है। एक इंसान को अपने संविधान से बड़ा बना दिया, सारे इंस्टीट्यूशन से बड़ा बना दिया, सारे चीजों से बड़ा बना दिया। जब आप एक इंसान को मुद्दे से बड़ा बनाते, इंस्टीट्यूशन से बड़ा बनाते, संविधान से बड़ा बनाते, तो वो इंसान देश का कबाड़ा ही करेगा। तो मुझे कोई भी हीरो नहीं बनाएगा।
Ladies and gentlemen, he said it standing in front of thousands. The man who just brought down a sitting cabinet minister of the world's largest democracy looked into the camera and said, "Do not make me hungry." Not because he is humble, because he understood something that took this nation 75 years and still hasn't learned. The problem was never one bad minister. The problem is that we keep building heroes and then act surprised when they demolish the institutions around them. One man was made bigger than the constitution, bigger than the parliament, bigger than the Supreme Court, bigger than accountability itself. And when you make one man that big, the country turns into his personal hard drive. Corrupted sector everywhere, no backup, no recovery partition. Today's script is about what just happened. The resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, the Cockroach Janta Party, the students who refuse to crawl away, and why this isn't a victory speech. It's an installation guide for a new operating system called accountability. Let me walk you through the blueprint, because every time a genuine people's movement rises in this country, the establishment reaches for the same playbook. It's a 3-step protocol, and I want you to see how this time it failed. Step 1. Ignore. For the first 2 weeks of the Jantar Mantar sit-in, the national media, the channels, you and I, subsidized with our cable bills, acted like it wasn't happening. 36 days. Thousands of students, a hunger strike by 59-year-old Raman Maksase averted, and the primetime debates were still arguing about which celebrity wore what to which wedding. Step 2. Dismiss. When ignoring stopped working because the crowd kept swelling, the dismissal phase kicked in. These are not real students, anti-national forces, foreign funded, Pakistani angle. The same phrases, the same playbook, the same teleprompter fed anchors reading the same WhatsApp forward on 70 channels simultaneously. One lawyer actually stood up in the Supreme Court and said, "Police used lathis with nails, and the Chief Justice of India, the highest judicial authority in the land, looked down and said," and I quote, "Don't waste our time." This is the same Chief Justice who weeks earlier had dismissed students' unemployment and exam failures as if they were a pest problem. The word cockroach didn't come from the protesters, it came from the establishment. Students just did what Gen Z does best. They took the insult, memed it, owned it, and built a political party around it. That's not a protest tactics. That's a cultural counter-strike. Step 3. Crush. And when the dismissal didn't work either, July 20 happened. The Parliament March. Thousands of young men and women walking peacefully towards the seat of democracy. And the response was tear gas, baton charges, lathis. A 21-year-old female protester on a ventilator. Over 100 hospitalized. Police claim 50 of their own were injured. The same police that deployed facial recognition to flag 400 people with criminal records near the protest site. The surveillance state activated instantly for the students. The same speed was mysteriously absent when exam papers were being leaked for 5 straight years. Here's the part that should disturb every Indian who still believes in institution. The Chief Justice of India had two opportunities to be on the right side of the history. Two doors, he walked past both. Door 1, when the NEET paper leak first erupted, students across the country were in chaos. 2 million candidates, I repeat 2 million candidates. Result cancelled, suicides, families destroyed. The Supreme Court's response? Dismiss the urgency, label the agitation a nuisance, reduce a generation's existential crisis to a student problem. That cockroach remark didn't just insult the protesters, it revealed a mindset. The highest judge in the country views unemployed, cheated, despairing youths as pests. Door 2. After July 20, videos of police brutality were everywhere. A girl broke down on camera describing what happened to her. A senior advocate told the court that police used lathis with nails embedded in them, tear gas on seated peaceful protesters. And the Supreme Court said, "We are not interested in videos, we don't have time to watch." Let that sink in. The highest court, the protector of fundamental right, told a nation of 1.4 billion people, "We don't have time to watch evidence of state violence against unarmed students." And in that single moment, the CJI did what CJP couldn't do on its own. He united every student from Kashmir to Kanyakumari because it was no longer about NEET. It was no longer about Pradhan. It was about whether the system still believes in justice or just in power. And that remark didn't crush the movement. It detonated it. Let's talk about the fourth pillar, the watchdog that forgot how to bark. During the 36-day sit-in at Jantar Mantar, something happened that should terrify every newsroom executive in the country. The protester didn't just ignore the mainstream media, they actively boycotted them. Chants of GODI media go back became as common as Vande Mataram. Gen Z figured out what the rest of us took decades to learn. When the media is an instrument of power, consuming it isn't information, it's inhalation of propaganda. The same channel that gives wall-to-wall coverage to a celebrity breakup couldn't find airtime for a 59-year-old activist who lost 11 kilograms on a 26-day hunger strike. Sonam Wangchuk, a Raman Magsaysay awardee, an engineer who transformed education in Ladakh, was fasting unto death at Jantar Mantar. His health deteriorated. Police forcibly removed him after the Delhi High Court intervened. And the primetime narrative? Silence, or worse, the foreign-funded anti-national script. But here's what the blueprint didn't account for. The media landscape has changed. Gen Z doesn't wait for the 9 p.m. bulletin. They live stream, they tweet, they meme. The CJP's reach wasn't built through press conference, it was built through Instagram reels and X-rates that the establishment couldn't control. The movement around GODI media is no longer a fringe complaint. It's the beginning of a structural realignment of how Indians consume truth, and that, not Pradhan's resignation, might be the most lasting consequence of these 36 days. Now let me tell you what actually won this. Not a political party, not a leader, not an ideology. It was the sight of a Punjab farmer standing next to a Kerala student, a Ladakhi Buddhist next to a Dalit rights activist, an ex-serviceman who served the nation for 20 years, now standing in civilian clothes, holding a placard that said, "I served at the border, now I stand with my children." Samyukta Kisan Morcha, the same farmer unions that brought the government to its knees in 2021, sent delegation to Jantar Mantar. ex-servicemen, the men this country sent to war and then forgets, showed up in uniform and in civilian clothes. Opposition party that normally can't agree on lunch orders found common ground. Rahul Gandhi introduced a pellet-injured youth to the nation. Uddhav Thackeray, Raj Thackeray scheduled the same rally in Mumbai, not for their parties, but to congratulate the youth. For 36 days, Jantar Mantar became a microcosm of the India we were promised in 1947, not the India of WhatsApp forwards and election rallies. The India where a Hindu, a Muslim, a Sikh, a Buddhist, a Dalit, and an atheist can stand shoulder to shoulder, not because they agree on God, but because they agree on justice. This movement didn't just reject Dharmendra Pradhan, it rejected the entire architecture of division that keeps this country fighting over the temples and mosques while the education system burns. The job market collapses and the exam papers get sold like movie tickets. Someone asked Yamini Iyer, a senior fellow at Brown University, what made this different. She said, the exam and education system cuts across caste, class and gender. The core constituency doesn't represent a singular interest group. Translation: you can't break this movement with communal politics because the students who showed up at Jantar Mantar left their caste and religion at home. They came as Indians. Period. So July 25th, 2026, Dharmendra Pradhan resigns. The movement hit Jantar Mantar like a thunderclap. Video show protesters weeping, chanting, "Hum jeet gaye," the national anthem playing through loudspeakers. A 36-day sit-in had done what opposition couldn't do in 12 years of parliamentary session. Dipke called it a first victory. But read Pradhan's resignation letter carefully. Read between the lines of a man who served 5 years as education minister, during which 152 exam paper leaks were documented. 50 examinations were cancelled and 21 students reportedly died by suicide. He didn't say, "I failed." He said, I'm paraphrasing, that anti-national forces shouldn't exploit the situation. The country's unity should remain. The children should focus on their studies. Even in surrender, the narrative was, I am stepping down to protect you from the bad people, not I am accountable for the mess I oversaw. The resignation is real. The accountability is not. Because what about the police who put a 21-year-old girl on ventilator? What about the lathis with nails? What about the tear gas on seated protesters? What about the officers who used facial recognition to profile peaceful citizens exercising their constitutional right to assemble? Not a single answer, not a single suspension, not a single FIR against the men in uniform who turned Jantar Mantar into a battlefield against unarmed children. Dipke said it clearly. 2 demands remain: compensation for the families of students who died and action against those responsible for the people leaks. The actual criminals, not the scapegoats. A minister resigned, the system that protected him didn't even flinch. So where does this leave us? Political scientist Suhas Palshikar wrote something chilling on X. Where will the cockroach movement go? Perhaps nowhere. It will allow venting of frustration and taper off. He might be right. History is littered with movements that won a battle and lost the war. The anti-corruption movement of 2011 gave us. Well, you know what it gave us. The farmers' protest forced a repeal, but the underlying power structure didn't budge. But I think this one is different, and here's why. 1. The demographic is unstoppable. India's median age is 28. The people at Jantar Mantar weren't pensioners with free time. They were students who bunked classes, travelled across states, and sat on concrete for 36 days. You can't co-opt a generation that doesn't want your jobs. your parties, or your approval. 2. The grievance is structural, not ideological. This wasn't about Hindu versus Muslim. It wasn't about left versus right. It was about whether the state can still conduct a fair exam. That question haunts every Indian household with a child above the age of 15. That's not a niche issue. That's every family, every caste, every religion. 3. The media monopoly is broken. The protester didn't need the 9 p.m. news. They had Twitter. They had Instagram. They had each other's phones live streaming what the cameras refused to show. The information gatekeeper just discovered they no longer control the gate. 4. The blueprint failed. Ignore, dismiss, crush. All 3 steps executed. All 3 steps defeated. The playbook is now public knowledge, and a playbook that everyone had read isn't a strategy anymore. It's a meme. What started at Jantar Mantar on June 6, 2026 may be remembered not as the day Pradhan failed, but as the day Indians stopped outsourcing the conscience to politicians, to judges, to news anchor, and started asking the question that actually matters. The question is no longer which party do you vote for. The question is, what are you doing while the institutions collapse? Let me bring this home, personal, the way I always do. I have 48 subscribers now. 48. As of today, I am not a journalist. I don't have a press card. I don't have a newsroom. I don't have a primetime slot where someone tells me what to say and what to omit. But here's what I do have. I have a spine. And in 2026 India, that appears to be in shorter supply than journalistic ethics. So let me address the celebrity class directly, since the GODI media won't. To every Bollywood star, every cricketer turned brand ambassador, every influencer with 10 million followers who stayed silent for 36 days while students were beaten on the streets of the national capital. Stop calling yourself a role model. You are just an entertainer. There's a difference. A role model uses their platform when it's uncomfortable. An entertainer uses it when there's a brand deal attached. A role model shows up at Jantar Mantar. An entertainer shows up at the Filmfare after party and posts a black square when it's trending. The youth of this country just proved that you don't need a blue tick to change history. You need conviction, you need courage, and you need the willingness to be called a cockroach and wear it like armor. Abhijit Dipke is not a hero. He told us that himself, and he's right. Because the moment we turn him into one, we repeat the same error that got us here. The hero worship that broke the institutions in the first place. The hero of this story isn't one person. It's the thousands who sat on a concrete for 36 days. It's Sonam Wanchuk losing 11 kilos on hunger strike. It's the 21-year-old girl who got on ventilator and still, when she recovers, will probably go back to protesting. It's the farmers who travel from Punjab to say, your fight is our fight. It's the ex-servicemen who saluted the tricolour one more time, not for the government but for the children. The resignation of one minister doesn't fix the education system. It doesn't bring back the students who took their own lives. It doesn't heal the ones who took lathis to their back for the crime of peaceful assembly. But it does prove one thing, that when we the people, all of us, every religion, every caste, every creed, every language, decide that enough is enough, even the most powerful government in the India's recent history has to step back. This is not a victory speech. This is an installation wizard, and the new operating system is called accountability. You don't need to be a journalist to install it. You just need to refuse to look away. Thank you.